in the dim glow of a bustling marketing office in downtown Seattle, where the hum of keyboards and murmured strategy sessions formed the soundtrack of ambition. Ethan Hale, 28, had carved out a life of quiet triumphs. Top of his class in college, he'd climbed the ranks at Apex Strategies through sheer grit. No handouts, no safety nets, just a man who paid his own way, socked away savings, and savored the rare freedom of a Sunday hike without the weight of unspoken debts. Back home in the sleepy riverside town of Willow Creek, his family painted a different portrait. His parents, Harlan and Vivian, presided over a dusty antique shop called Timeless Relics, a legacy they romanticized like a faded oil painting, more facade than fortune. It limped along on nostalgia and Harlan's tall tales of heirlooms from forgotten eras. But the truth was bleaker. Red ink on the ledgers, propped up by Ethan's invisible lifelines. For 4 years, since he'd landed his first real paycheck, he'd funneled monthly transfers into their account, silent, steady, like oxygen to a flickering flame. They never acknowledged it. He never demanded thanks. It was just family. Then there was his sister, Riley, 25, the whirlwind who danced through consequences like they were confetti. College dropout. Serial tenant with eviction notices as souvenirs, she pieced together a career. Slinging essential oils at a pop-up stall 2 shifts a week. Harlan and Vivian footed her $2,500 loft in the city, ocean views and all, because as they put it, she's finding herself. Ethan? He'd long since stopped counting the times he'd covered her overdrafts or wired cash for emergencies that always traced back to impulse buys. The fracture came on a drizzly Tuesday evening, Harlan's voice crackling through the phone like static on an old radio. "Son, we're in a bind. Just a bridge loan for Riley's place. Couple months tops. Vivian's not sleeping. It's tearing us up." Ethan's pulse quickened, not from surprise, but from the familiar coil of resentment tightening in his chest. He pictured Riley's latest Instagram reel, all filters and flair, oblivious to the strings pulling her afloat. "Dad," he said evenly, the city lights blurring past his apartment window. "I've built this from nothing. If Riley wants the high life, let her earn it. I'm not her fallback." Silence stretched like a held breath. Then Harlan's sigh. "You're fracturing us, Ethan. Blood's thicker than pride." He hung up, convinced the storm had passed. It hadn't. 2 weeks later, mid-pitch to a room of wide-eyed execs, his slides crisp, his voice steady, chaos erupted. The glass doors flew open with a whoosh that silenced the floor. Harlan and Vivian charged in like Avengers from a bad soap opera, faces flushed crimson, veins bulging with righteous fury. They bulldozed past the stunned receptionist, zeroing in on Ethan's corner desk amid the sea of cubicles. "You selfish snake!" Vivian's shriek sliced through the air, drawing gasps like ripples in a pond. "Abandoning your own blood for some shiny suit gig? We gave you everything." Harlan loomed over him, fist pounding the desk, scattering pens like shrapnel. "This is our heritage you're spitting on, selling your soul to strangers while Riley starves." The room froze. Colleagues, mid-sip on coffees. His boss, Ms. Langford, rising slowly from her glass-walled office, eyes narrowing like storm clouds. Whispers buzzed. "Legacy? What legacy?" As Vivian thrust out her hand. "Your check. Now, it's not yours. It's ours by right." Humiliation burned Ethan's throat, hot and metallic. the kind that turns the world tunnel vision sharp, faces blurred into a gallery of pity and judgment. The intern he'd mentored, the VP who'd tapped him for promotion. Something primal cracked inside him. Not rage, but resolve. Cold as river stone. He rose without a word, badge slipping from his lanyard like a shed skin. Meeting Miss Langford's gaze, he murmured, "This ends here. For me, anyway." Then he turned, coat in hand, and strode out into the relentless rain, the office door whispering shut behind him like a full stop. The drive to his cramped studio was a blur of wipers and white-knuckled steering, the city's neon veins pulsing mockingly. By dawn, he'd packed a duffel, changed his number, and vanished. First to a no-frills motel, then a sleek high-rise in Portland, courtesy of a former prof who'd caught wind of the meltdown and pulled strings for a remote role at a boutique firm. Double the salary, zero drama. The quiet was intoxicating. Mornings with black coffee and birdsong, evenings untethered from the gravitational pull of Willow Creek. No contact, no mercy. He'd ghosted them clean, but the embers of that office inferno smoldered on. Nights found him pacing, replaying the ambush, the entitlement that branded his success a betrayal. They hadn't just stormed his world, they tried to claim it, and in the ashes of his fury, a plan crystallized, sharp and surgical. Timeless Relics wasn't just a shop. It was their shrine to self-importance, a warren of creaking shelves and gilt-framed mirrors that masked the mounting debts. Ethan had architected its digital spine, the website humming on a domain he'd snagged years back, the POS system he'd coded tweaks for, the merchant accounts he'd vouched for with his pristine credit. Harlan and Vivian, tech phobes who'd once asked if the cloud was a weather app. So, from his new laptop in a sun-dappled cafe, Ethan moved like a shadow. First, the lifeline severed. Auto transfers halted with a single click. The business account he'd co-signed stripped of his name via a notary's stamp. He fired off a crisp email to their accountant, his hire, his dime, declaring total dissociation. Then the poetry. The domain flipped to a stark placeholder page, black text on white, indefinitely closed. Restructuring in progress. Contact Riley Hale, interim operations lead, for all matters. Oh, and the shop's line, forwarded straight to her burner phone. A relentless chime of irate vendors chasing phantom payments and customers demanding vanished curios. Riley, thrust into the spotlight she'd always craved but never earned, fielded the fallout. Bewildered calls at 3 a.m. Emails piling like autumn leaves. Where's my credenza? Invoice overdue again. Ethan's inbox lit up soon after. Uncle Theo's bewildered query, Cousin Lila's pottery shipment stalled, even a family acquaintance's hesitant nudge. Heard the shops in limbo, Harlan's muttering about sabotage. Then the voicemails. Harlan's gravelly plea from a throwaway line, laced with disbelief. Ethan, what the hell? You've gutted us. This crosses every line, boy. Crosses lines. The irony twisted like a knife. For years, he'd bankrolled their delusions. Riley's data plans, her trash security deposits, the shop's leaky roof patched with his sweat equity, all without a murmur. But one no to her gilded cage? Villainy. As the weeks blurred into a velvet hush of independence, the flying monkeys descended. Aunts with honeyed pleas. Family men's. Dear, don't let coin corrupt you. Cousins with veiled barbs. Riley's fragile. You're the strong one, right? Even Vivian's bridge club crony warbling about heartbreak and lost sleep. Ethan parried with precision. A single riposte. Did they mention the scene they caused at my office? And watch the replies evaporate. Then, a curveball, an email from Aunt Nora, Harlan's estranged half-sister, a spectral figure from childhood holidays. Stranger to you, maybe, but kin enough to see the pattern. He did this to me at your age. Guilt as a leash. Legacy as a lie. It chained me for a decade. You snapped it. Godspeed. The pieces locked. Riley wasn't the disease, just its glittering symptom. The real rot was the machine that devoured independence, rewarding leeches and lashing providers. But the panic they whispered of, it crested like a rogue wave. A certified letter arrived, crisp and ominous. IRS audit notice. Ethan's preemptive purge had rippled outward. The fresh CPA spotting ghosts on payroll, loans tethered to a signer long detached, feds circling like hawks over falsified forms, phantom employees, a paper trail of propped-up pretense. Harlan and Vivian, cornered without their scapegoat, faced the music solo. 6 weeks of stone silence stretched on. No accidental texts from Vivian. No Riley rants dissolving into shrugs. Their desperation leaked sideways. Old colleagues pinging with second-hand pleas. Even Ethan's college ex surfacing with a bemused, "Your fam's on a reconciliation crusade. Dinner truce?" He deleted without reply, his world instead blooming in the fertile soil of absence. Remote deadlines met with focus, hikes turning meditative. Savings swelling like a promise kept to himself. Whispers from Willow Creek painted the wreckage. Timeless relics padlocked, restructuring yielding to eviction. The Square terminal blacklisted amid fraud flags for botched transactions. The audit's freeze choked their lifeline, and in a final farce of a flourish, Riley's GoFundMe, Rescue Our Cherished Heritage from Betrayal, garnered $112 from pitying stragglers, one suspiciously from her own sock puppet account. No crowd-sourced salvation, just the echo of a myth crumbling. They weren't unraveling from his betrayal, but from the void where he'd once shouldered their world. The legacy they dangled like bait? A mirage sustained by one man's unseen labor. Harlan's last dispatch, a voice crackle heavy with defeat. "It was yours to inherit, son. We forged it for you." Forged in what? Resentment and borrowed time? No. Ethan had paid the toll too long. Now, in the soft Portland dusk, he pours a glass of bourbon, the amber catching firelight like buried gold. The phone stays dark, a relic of its own. He's no traitor, no disgrace, just unchained. And as the shop's ghost fades in the rearview, a fierce quiet settles. The sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's walking away whole, leaving the cards to tumble. For the first time, the horizon feels infinite, and damn if it doesn't taste like victory.